Hey friends, are you done with dating apps? Tired of swiping through profiles and superficial chats that go nowhere? Well, swipe left on those boring rituals. Introducing Done with Dating, the free podcast-driven dating platform that's bringing human interaction back. We sit down with incredible singles for real conversations on our weekly podcast. Listeners like you get to know them deeply, then apply to date a guest or step into the mic yourself. Plus, we'll regularly host experts that discuss the dating world and provide advice on self-improvement techniques when you are taking a break from dating and focusing on yourself. Made for the bold, built for connection, your dating journey redefined through the mic. Head to donewithdating.co right now and apply. It's free. Your perfect match is one episode away. Hey everybody. In today's episode, we're talking to Sabrina, the men's coach. You'll find her on Instagram. I'm really excited to have her on today. Hey, Sabrina, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I mean, your content is really awesome. So I figured, okay, let's bring her on because I've had a lot of people on to talk about women and the women's side of coaching, but really there's a lot of men out there that could use it as well. Do you mind just giving us a little bit of a background on what you do for men?
Yeah, sure. So, hey everyone, I'm Sabrina, and what I do with my partner Tony is we run a men's coaching business, and we particularly focus on more high performing, high level men who either run businesses, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and have a lot of success in a lot of areas in their life, as in business, fitness, everything's going good except this relationship piece. And what we found is a lot of high level men do struggle the most with relationship. And, I'm sure we'll dig into it. So we help high performing men kind of dig down to the root of why they keep repeating these emotional patterns with women and how to break it down and where it comes from and how do they become that masculine grounded version of themselves as opposed to what society has been portraying, as in women are more manly and men are being more feminine. That's basically what we focus on.
That's great. And I think there'll be such a good audience for that. So, one of the things that you do is you call yourself the feminine translator. And again, you talked about high performing men master one word that ends disrespect and dramatically increases attraction. What is that word or framework? And can you walk us through a real life example of it?
Sure. Okay. So I always like to make people guess. If you wanted to like take a guess, what do you think that one word is? But you don't have to. So I'll give you, let's see. What do you think it is?
Um,
Letters.
no?
Yes.
Yes? No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
I know, right? Yeah, so that one word that we help men master is no. And in a nutshell, that word no isn't just hard for men, it is hard for humans in general, right? We typically have this people pleasing tendency to want to, especially the people we care and love about the most or are around us. Saying no to them is very hard. And that does impact you in certain ways, right? I'm just saying this to relate to everyone, whoever listens or whatever, because it's not just like men. We just focus on men, right? Particularly with men, saying no to women is unheard of in a lot of scenarios that we work with and the men that we talk to where, it's like the nice guy act. This is very common for men where they say yes to everything that she wants and she'll be emotional and they don't know how to react. So they just kind of give in. And what we teach, the main thing is learning how to have what are your standards and how to hold them. And when standards, it's like, it's what are your non-negotiables that you're willing to allow to be treated as opposed to boundaries, where we teach that they're more framed from like a weaker, more fear-based frame, in the sense of when you have a boundary, it looks more of like don't do this or this will happen, right? It's like rules based. Whereas a standard is like, I guess the best word is an expectation, which I know that word has its own thing in itself, but it's like what you allow and what you don't allow. And that's really tough for men, especially the higher level men who do so well at work. They tend to use their logic or their business or their money to kind of work their way through certain things with women. And they end up being weak and lose themselves is a common pattern that we see. So mastering that word no will allow them to kind of show up differently for themselves and also lead the relationship differently in a nutshell.
Yeah, definitely. And I can already see how that could be really helpful to people. I
Yeah.
wish I had had that 7 or 8 years ago, maybe
Yeah.
10. So that's great. So you focus on the content that's aimed at successful men. They like you said, they do great in business, but sometimes just feel powerless or disrespected at home. What else do you think? You talked about this a little bit. Why do you think that gap exists, and what is the first mindset shift that you use to help them stop being the provider who gets walked on, if that is actually the case?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it typically can be one of the cases, but the big gap is these men who are more of the entrepreneurial style, right? Not the 9 to 5ers, which they could be like that too. Like we consider like cops and firefighters high performing as well, right? They're doing a high performing job. It's not just looking like you have a lot of money per se, it's more of how you operate. And so these more high level, high performing men, they use a lot of logic in their business. So they're using a lot of strategy and yeah, strategy and logic to do things, to succeed, to get what they want and achieve the successes and the goals. And also they're very solutions based, which is great qualities, right? That's part of the masculine design. And also it works really well in certain situations. But when it comes to women, those strategies don't work the same when it comes to emotions, because when it comes to women, what you're dealing with is emotions, not logic. And so that's where that gap is how to not be so logical when it comes to the relationship in women, because that's not going to work with us. We are not very logical based. We are very emotional based, and the gap is right there of how to show up as the masculine with a woman and to keep the polarity and hold the frame, as opposed to showing up as the masculine at work, where you can be a lot more direct and aggressive and logical and use those more of the primal instinct design of a man. So that's where I would say the big gap is for most people.
This is a little bit of a just a follow up on this question, but where men tend to be more logical, and in law enforcement, I was prior FBI myself, like
Okay.
we're problem solving nonstop.
Yeah.
So
Right.
when someone presents a problem, we jump into problem solving mode, right?
Right.
And
Right.
and and with women, in my life, in my experience, a lot of times they don't want a problem solver.
Yeah.
They want to just have a listener,
Yeah.
right? But do you see that a lot in your experience as well?
Yes. So this is also another big issue where, like, I'll give you a scenario or an example. It's like when a woman goes to you and is kind of having a meltdown or an emotional episode and she's freaking out about something. For her, it seems very real and like, "Oh, no, this is the worst thing ever." She's very emotional and dramatic, right? Typically for the guy, he's not so caught up in his emotions, which they can be. Like, we both carry the masculine and feminine energy, so if you're a little more
Yeah.
feminine, it can be the case, but typically the man is designed to actually see the reality with his logic. So, how we teach it, the ideal situation would be if she's having an episode that's emotional and you start to react to it emotionally as well, right? Meet her with the same energy level, I would say. Then that's what causes like the disconnect. But it's we teach the guys it's your responsibility to hold the frame and actually notice what's going on logically. That's not your job, though. I'm not saying to call her out or be like, well, no, this is what's happening. But instead of letting go of your standards back to that in that moment, right? Where it's not like she can treat you like shit just because she's freaking out. It's more of how do you hold the space for her to do that and still hold your standards, but also validate her and hold that space for her, right? And so it would look like if she's going to have that episode and she's being bitchy towards you, but you didn't do anything. This scenario has nothing to do with you. Maybe she's freaking out about, I don't know, something personal, right? But she's taking it out on you. So the man has two options in that scenario where it's like, do you allow her to treat you like shit because she's so emotional and you're nervous and you don't want to tick her off more? Or is that a really good moment where the change can happen for you, where you actually say, like, listen, girl, I know you're hurting and you're upset, which I'm here for you, but I like don't talk to me like that. Because once you allow it once, the odds are she will do it again, and that's where that emotional safety piece that we teach on of if a woman knows she can control you with her emotions, and this is all subconscious, it's not something she's like I always think of like Plankton with SpongeBob. It's not like she's up to an evil plan, right? Looking
Right.
for a certain, she doesn't know she's doing this, but that's what we teach you guys to understand what's even subconsciously happening because it's all biological primal design at the end of it. So a woman will always test a man. The more she trusts you, the more she is likely to test you. And that pisses a lot of men off, which I get it. It's fucking annoying, right? It's like, you're doing your best and like she's always going to I still test Anthony or Tony as you guys know him. I'm more aware of when I'm doing it, and the thing is Anthony is so good at all this that he can't be manipulated because that's another piece of the design of the women is we are naturally going to try to manipulate subconsciously because if our number one priority is to always be safe, whether that's emotionally, mentally, physically, we're always going to do what's best for us in the moment. And so when we feel threatened, as like back to the loop, I'll circle it back where if I'm emotional and then you start acting emotional, that to me doesn't feel safe. It's like I can make this guy react. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like the
Hmm.
subconscious reaction for her, and then that's when you become unsafe and the attraction dies, and that's the main loop we see. That's a long answer, but
No, that was great. And that actually leads right into my next question because I was going to ask you about the attraction part of it. So when that's happening, the testing is occurring, the female in this case is able to get the male to react in a certain way. It does that what kind of exacerbates the problem? So like their partner has become more like a roommate or a mother figure. And is that the biggest mistake they're making, basically allowing those standards to be crossed? Um, what what do they do to bring that magnetic attraction back?
yeah,
How do
yeah,
they
yeah. So
regain that power?
yeah, so I think that is one of the main things that causes it is first of all, a lot of men don't even know what their standards are. Right? Because a lot of the times when you're stuck in that toxic cycle of dating, like that up and down roller coaster on and off, you actually don't really know what safe, healthy love looks like, grounded, right? Conscious love. And so a lot of men don't even know what they actually want. And we really truly believe you don't really know what you want until you can actually dig deeper into your own shit. Otherwise, you're probably just like trauma bonding all the time, right? So until you get down to your own emotional grounding, right? You're not looking for it outside of yourself, I guess is the best way to say it. I don't really know if you know what you want because if you're just looking from a place of lack or not enough or avoid, then you might be choosing things that may not be as aligned as you think you want them to be, if that makes sense. That was a little bit more like a little deeper, but
Yeah.
um so that would be one thing, right? They don't even know they're non-negotiables, but even that in itself, right? They don't have standards, so they get walked all over. She knows she can poke at him or like some girls get nasty with their comments and when they allow that, that's like unattractive to me. It's almost like little brother energy with that type of stuff, right? And then to speak to the mothering thing, another big thing that kills the attraction is there's this societal belief where men can't be emotional, so it's confusing for you guys. But then some of them want to show that vulnerability and emotional side of them to their women, and they do, and it ends up backfiring. So this is another key issue we see is that it's how you're being emotional vulnerable with her. And this is where men and women are just different, right? Like what I can do is not what you can do in certain situations. I can cry in public and it's more acceptable because it's like, oh, she's a woman, she's emotional, right? You cry in public, you're like, what a little fucking bitch, right? And so that's just the reality of the difference. So I can be emotional and like kind of process things out loud or show my like crazy, wild feminine side, right? But for my partner, let's say for Anthony, let's say he gets triggered, which Anthony really doesn't, but I'm just using an example, I guess. It's if he were to get triggered and show that in the moment, like an anger episode, and like come at me and attack me and all that, that's not safe for me. So the difference is for men is it's not that you can't share, it's more of do not process with her. So there's a difference between you coming to your woman and being like, oh my God, this happened. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm freaking out, blah, 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 as opposed to you've already processed it, handle it with yourself or your coach, whoever the fuck you do it with. I don't care, but you already handled it and processed it. You go to her and the difference would sound like, oh, like, are you in, do you have space to hear something I want to share with you? Because like you're warning her that you want to be open, right? I really want to share something and open up to you. And then you share it in a way where it's like, oh yeah, yesterday I got this message and then I noticed I was like a little dysregulated and then I went through it and I realized like this is how I'm going to handle it. And like you're showing her direction and leadership. So you can share vulnerably, but what are you doing with what you just found as opposed to processing it with her in the moment? Um, I would say that's a huge attraction killer.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I know one relationship I had, I would run into that trap where I would share something with someone and talk to them about like what was happening and essentially talk about a couple different courses that I was going to choose between.
Hmm.
And oftentimes she would pick the other choice for me. And I'd be like, you know what, I think I'm gonna go with option A. And then she'd be like, why did you even ask me then? And like get really
Yeah.
mad at me. So
Hmm.
I've learned I've tried to be a little bit better on that and not create that when I feel like I'm 75-25 on something, I'll probably just talk about the 75% option
Right. Right.
because, I'm okay with being persuaded differently. But
Yeah.
if I'm already 75% there, most likely I'm doing that,
Yeah.
probably not going to go back. So I've tried to learn that. But you help a lot of men do some of this work as well in terms
Hmm.
of identifying where they are in this growth area and then helping them to try to assess, okay, I'm going to try to do that in terms of I'm going to approach her with something if she has space to listen, tell her about what happened, to share that and be vulnerable with her, but not necessarily include her in the decision making process because I made the decision already.
Or the processing.
The
So it's like
processing, right?
it's not like
Okay.
men get to have emotions because you're human. So it's like it's total bullshit if a guy's like, "Oh, I don't cry." You may not cry, but I know you have to, right? You get the feeling, and so when those moments come up, let's just call it like when you're dysregulated, like to the nervous system stuff that we work on, where you're feeling dysregulated over something. What dysregulation, what it looks like, is just like you're reacting to something in your body, right? Chest pressure, heart's pounding, anxiety feeling, all that stuff. It's like in those moments, it's not going to her and treating her like she's your therapist or coach in that moment where she needs to walk you through the emotions of it. So it's like emotionally dumping or venting versus sharing what you got through it and what you're going to do with it. Because if you're just sharing openly and like crying and not knowing where to go and she has to guide you, then she's taking leadership in that moment. And that's really not her role as part of the masculine feminine design.
So are you primarily dealing with people who are in relationships and trying to figure out what they can do to improve the quality of the relationships? Or do you deal with a lot of people who are single men who are also dealing with dating or trying to find that right person as well?
Yeah, honestly, it's a little bit of both. It's funny. I took a vote on my story for the audience, and I thought we had more married, but it's actually more half and half. But
Hmm.
a sweet spot is it's what I see in what we do. Our little meetings on and all that, where we typically get a lot of men either breakup phase where they're hurting, like this really just destroyed them. This was the one, or they broke up a while ago, but they're still holding on. That seems to be a very key area. And then also for those in relationships, they typically tend to be married, but on the brink of a divorce or like things are just not working and they have families and they have their businesses, but this is just really destroying, starting to impact everything and they don't know what else to do. They've tried the couples therapy and because, with couples therapy, where our belief and our take on therapy is, there's a difference between regular therapy and obviously in couples therapy, but with regular therapy, I don't think it's bad. It's not that you shouldn't do it. It's more of it is not designed to help you build and transform like your next version, if that makes sense. It's really designed to maybe bring some awareness and talk a lot about what you're feeling and what's happening or what you went through, but then what's missing and it keeps you stuck in therapy for years, some people, where it's this loop of what do you do with all this information and how do you actually integrate it into your life? And at some point, there's no point in keep visiting the past so much and talking about it because that's not doing anything. It's really how are you rewiring your nervous system into a new pattern. So when stuff comes up, what tools are you using, right? They usually say, "Oh, read this book or watch this." And it's not actual integrative tools and how to get the results you're looking for. So that's a big issue we do have with therapy is it's not solutions based, and it's also not someone who's been through what you maybe are wanting to achieve. So they're really teaching out of a book. It's like going to a relationship coach who's not in a healthy relationship or they're single. It's weird, right? And then back to the relationship counseling or marriage counseling, the issue with that is it tends to be what I've heard, right? I've never been married myself, but I have done couples therapy. I didn't feel this, but we did it more spiritual conscious stuff, but we had a coach. But the with what I've heard from our clients is that it typically ends up being like a beating up ground for men, where the therapist is validating the woman a lot and not defending the guy, or it just doesn't feel like a safe space for the guys. And that's a common theme because the guys that come to us are typically already tried that. So now they don't know what else to do. And so they come to us. We're kind of like the
Mhm.
last resort for them.
Mhm.
So yeah, those seem to be the main types of guys that come find us.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there. I think to me, like the couples therapy, a lot of times is like triage,
Yeah.
almost in an emergency room where you really don't have time to step back
Right.
and reimagine or re-examine or use strategy because you're right in the thick of it.
Hmm.
And so you all try to help these people who are really good at being high achievers, who are very strategic. They like to execute on a plan. So
Yes.
you try to help them, right? Bring that same discipline into their love life, especially when it comes to setting standards,
Hmm.
vetting women. How do you assess a client when a new client comes to you? How do you assess them with that and figure out, okay, what do we need to do with them right now? How do we get them to the point where they can start to do the work if they haven't
Hmm.
started already?
Hmm. So a big piece of that, because each situation is going to be different, right? Dependent on how much work they've done, how much they know, how much their awareness are of their patterns and their childhood wounds. But all of that doesn't really matter at the end of it. What we found really matters is how committed are they to themselves. Because if I get on a call with someone who's interested in doing like I offer a consult assessment call, see what's going on and if they want to work with us, if they fit. Um, One person I will not offer because we're very selective since we do believe in a certain frequency and energy of what we hold. So we are looking for more of a higher frequency person who's very committed, who isn't going to be victim to their situation. So that's the key quality for us is are they committed to themselves and are they willing to take responsibility for their part? Because if you're sitting there just pointing the finger and it's her, it's her, it's her, it's her, well, it might be her, but also you're still there. So part of it is you too for staying, right? And if they can see that and accept that, that's a key thing for us because we can't do the work for you. You have to actually want it because it takes something to rewire your subconscious beliefs and programming. Because if it was easy, I think it's like a small percentage, maybe 1 or 2% people choose to do that. So it takes a certain person. You have to operate like a 1 or 2%er in order to get those results. So that's a key piece for us.
So as we close out, do you have any parting tips or guidance for people who are trying to figure out, okay, what is my next step?
Mm. Well, I guess if you're single, right, and going through a breakup or whatnot, I think the first piece of it is knowing what you're going through is normal. The pain, the grief, the sadness that happens is very normal. It would be weird if you weren't experiencing that is what I tell my clients. And to have a lot of grace and compassion for themselves because a lot of us will sit there and beat ourselves up. I should have done this. I fucked up. I did this. And we really try not to come from this like good or bad, right or wrong, black and white space in our coaching where we really try to remind you you didn't know any better because it wasn't intentional. That's piece one is to really allow yourself to feel the emotions and not try to bottle it up. And a second piece to that, I guess, like little a B part of that is reminding yourself that you can feel the sadness, but also feel the joy, the laughter. You don't have to sit in that constantly because both can be true at once, right? We talk about like the two truths in our coaching. And so, how can you hold space to be angry and sad and also enjoy life and have the laughter? Because it's otherwise, it's going, that's where the depression comes and all that. And then for those in marriages, it's really hard for me to give a general one because it depends what's actually going on. But
Mhm.
I would say generally is in a marriage, the men really need to look at what their standards are and what are they willing to allow or not allow to be treated and what's not working. And it's going to take a little more work when you're in a relationship for X amount of years. Having to shift that does take a little more work than as if you're single and we're building you from that point, right? It's very doable. It just takes different types of actions and work. But I would say for married couples, really getting clear on like what's working, what's not working, and also understanding the feminine and masculine dynamics is probably the key piece of it all because a lot of men are probably communicating a certain way that she's not receiving because she's so feminine, or is she operating as the alpha male in the house and he's taking orders from her? That's a common thing we see with these high level guys. It's like they're kind of like big bosses in their, you know what I mean? They own the company, some of them, these like multi-millionaire companies. Then they go home and it's like they're treated like a little bitch where she kind of wears the pants and she tells him what to do and he doesn't know what to do. And so it's this extreme difference, and flipping that is a whole process, right? How do you gain back the respect and the leadership in the home as the masculine? So, yeah,
Well, that is great information
I'm so
for
glad.
everybody listening. Could you let everybody know where they could find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram. All my social media is basically unlock with Sabrina. And also, we always suggest to take, we have this free kind of like assessment test for respect. How much disrespect are you getting? So it's like this free little quiz, takes 2, 3 minutes, and you'll get a little score of how much you're getting, kind of a percentage. And then it'll send you a customized little game plan on what to do like today to start taking action. So you can find that at respectgains.com, and then it should be a quick little test. So I would take that and start there to see like where is it that you're actually getting disrespected and what areas can you focus on. So that's what I would start there.
All right. Well, Sabrina, thanks so much for being on today.
No problem. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
So if you're done with endless swiping and ready for something real, don't miss a single episode. Hit that subscribe button right now on your favorite podcast app and never miss the bold conversations that could change your dating life forever. Every week, we bring you incredible singles, excellent advice, raw stories, and real opportunities to connect, all for free. Subscribe today, apply at donewithdating.co, and turn your next listen into your next date. Your perfect match is waiting on the other side of the mic. It doesn't matter where you live. Someone local is listening and will want to date you. We'll see you in the next episode. Subscribe now.